The NFL MVP race is heating up, and I'm going to be telling you what each guy needs to do to get their hands on the MVP trophy this year. Starting out with Matthew Stafford, who's currently the odds-off favorite at plus 135, giving him about a 40% chance to win it per Las Vegas. Look, if he wins out, if he goes 15-2, auto win. No one else can touch him. If he goes 15-2, he's won it. Now, 14-3, that's a more realistic scenario. In his final 7 games, he wins 6 of them. If he can go 14-3 and beat the Lions in Week 15 and beat the Seahawks in Week 16, I think that pretty much locks it up as well. You can drop. You've got games against the Bucks, Panthers, Cardinals, Falcons, Cardinals again. You can lose one of those 5. If you beat the Lions and the Seahawks, number one, you knock both those guys out of the MVP race because both those guys are behind you. If you beat both of them, you obviously get a leg up and they lose more games. So, look, I think if he beats the Lions and Seahawks, he can get it done. Now, if he were to lose to, let's say, the Seahawks on that Thursday Night Football game in Week 16 and go 6-1 down the stretch, I think there's still a good chance. At 14-3, leading a very good offense, I think there's still a pretty good chance he gets the MVP. I would say 15-2 is a lock. 14-3 if he beats the Seahawks and Lions is pretty much a lock. And then 14-3 if he doesn't beat both those teams, then it gets a little dicey depending on what other guys do. And we're going to get to Drake May right now. Drake May is plus 185. So to a degree, the MVP race has been consolidated to really just 2 people. We got Stafford at plus 135, which puts him at about a 40% chance to win. We have Drake May at a plus 185, which puts him at about a 35% chance to win. And look, that's pretty much the race. It's between these 2 guys. Now, I think Drake May is probably in a better spot to win it. He has 1 less game to play, so he currently has 1 more win than Matthew Stafford. And look, he's got the Bengals, the Giants, a bye week, the Bills, the Ravens, the Jets, the Dolphins. Look, the only 2 games that are serious question marks is, can you beat Buffalo? If you beat them twice, that knocks Josh Allen out of the race, obviously. And can you beat Baltimore, which it's going to be at Baltimore, which could be a little tricky with Lamar Jackson, my favorite quarterback, playing well. Look, if he wins one of those games and goes 5-1 down the stretch and ends up at 14-3, the 1 seed in the A, because 14-3 is going to get you the 1 seed. I don't think the Colts are going to win out. Look, 14-3, especially if you can beat the Bills, sweep the Bills in the regular season, and really knock Josh Allen out of the equation, because part of winning the MVP, it's not just building up your own resume, it's tearing down the other competitor's resume. If you lose the game to Josh Allen and the Bills win out, it looks like Josh Allen's probably going to win. We're about to get to Josh Allen, but I think Drake May, partially because he's got 1 less game to play, so he's already got 1 more win on the books, as well as because the team was less proven, and it's like we're really taking a big step up because of May. I think May's in a better spot to win it. So if he wins out, he automatically wins it, unless Stafford wins out. And then we get into some question marks on who would win it there. But I personally, I would say May's in a better spot. Now going to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is currently 3rd in the odds. He's plus 475, so he's a distant 3rd. The top 2 guys consolidated pretty much 80% of the probability to win the MVP. Josh Allen's at plus 475, so he's got about a, about a 20% chance to win. And you're going to say, how do these 2 guys have an 80% and then Allen's got a 20%? There's other numbers. Look, they juice the numbers. So if you add up all the probabilities, they're going to be way over 100% because that's how the bookie makes money. But you get the point. So Josh Allen currently has 3 losses on the books to the Pats, which is big because May obviously is competing against him for MVP, at the Falcons, and then at the Dolphins. He's got the Texans this week. Look, I think if the Bills win out, and part of winning out means you beat Drake May on the road, you beat Jalen Hurts, and then you beat the Texans and Steelers both on the road, which are quality games. So he would pick up 2 massive wins against the top seed in the AFC, the top seed in the NFC. You would beat the Texans, who are a frisky team, and then you would beat the Steelers, who are also a frisky team. Look, if Josh Allen wins out, and it's possible, I don't think it's likely, but if Allen wins out, I think he gets the MVP. If he goes 13-4, we get into a tricky spot because we could be looking at a situation where Drake May loses 1 game to Josh Allen, and they're 13-4, the Patriots are. And then the Bills are 13-4, and they lose to the Eagles. And then you've got the Rams, who could end up being 13-4 very well. So we could have a very weird 3-way tie. And when we're looking at similar records, especially with Allen splitting with May, and Allen finishing the season better. And then you've got the potential big win over the Eagles, the potential big win over the Patriots, a lot of primetime games. Look, I think Josh Allen at about a 20% chance to win it. I think he's a very, very live underdog. I think Allen's got a legit chance to win it. And yeah, I don't think it's out of the question at all for Josh Allen to win it. Now in fourth place currently we have Jonathan Taylor. Now, as I've mentioned, it's not really possible for Jonathan Taylor or any non-quarterback to win it. A lot of people complain about this and say, well, if it's just going to always be quarterbacks, why not name it the best quarterback? The reason is because, and you could name it the most valuable quarterback, but this isn't a debate about who's the best player. It's not, is Jonathan Taylor better than the second best running back by 10%, and the best quarterback is only better by 2%, so Jonathan Taylor wins? No, this isn't a best player award. It's who's most valuable. And what that means, who helps their team win? Who is the most important? Who's the most irreplaceable? And look, at the end of the day, regardless of how good Jonathan Taylor is, regardless of how spectacular he is, he's a running back. And the running back, it could never be as important as the quarterback. Look, if the Colts were facing this offseason, can you keep Daniel Jones or can you keep Jonathan Taylor for the same amount of money? Now, Jones is going to ask for $50 million because quarterbacks matter more, and Jonathan Taylor is going to ask for $20 million because running backs matter less. So they might end up taking Jonathan Taylor over Jones. But if they have $50 million to spend and both guys ask for $50 million, Daniel Jones will get paid and Jonathan Taylor will walk because quarterbacks matter more. That's why quarterbacks make more. You know, if you believe in capitalism at all, it's pretty obvious that these NFL teams are paying who's the most valuable more money. Sometimes they get it wrong. Sometimes they pay the wrong guys. But generally, we see the quarterbacks get paid more because every team understands they matter more. Now, how could Jonathan Taylor win it? Right now, he's plus 800, which gives him about a 9% chance to win it. Look, they got to win out. I mean, clearly, if a running back is going to win it, you've got to get the 1 seed. You've got to break the record for most rushing yards. You've got to break the record for most touchdowns. If you win out, which would be a win over the Chiefs, Texans, Jags, Hawks, Niners, Jags, Texans again, it'd be impressive, no doubt. And if he ends up with 35 touchdowns, I mean, we've got to consider it. At that point, if you end up with 35 touchdowns, you got to get well north of 30. It can't be a 20. Oh, he's getting 2 per game. Okay, cool. I mean, that's not impacting the game to the same degree a quarterback does. But if they win out, if he's got 35 plus touchdowns, if he's got 2,400 rushing yards, it's like at some point we've got to start considering him. So it would have to be insane for him to get it. Now, at the fifth most likely, we've got Patrick Mahomes, who is plus 1,900. So they're giving him about a 5% chance to win it. And look, I think the path is clear. And although it's a difficult path, this is a good value at only a 5% chance to win it, knowing how good and historic this Mahomes-led team is. The road is you got to win out. No debate about it. You got to win out. You got to go 12-5. Now, does 12-5 get you the 1 seed? It depends. You know, winning out means you beat the Broncos, the Chargers, the Colts, who all could keep you from the 1 seed. So there's a chance if you win out, you get the 1 seed. You probably are just the division winner at that point. Which, look, if you get the 2 or the 3 seed and you're that historic, it's possible. Now, the real question is, do they beat the Colts this weekend? If they beat the Colts, you got Cowboys, you got Texans, you should win those. You got Chargers at home, you got the Titans, you got Broncos, you got Raiders. Look, is there any game the Chiefs aren't going to be favored in? Legitimately. I mean, I got to check right now, but Chiefs are favored at Colts. The Chiefs will be favored at the Cowboys. They'll be favored Texans, Chargers, Titans, Broncos, Raiders. The Chiefs will be favored in their final 7 games. So, look, I think it's possible. You got to win out, though. You got to win out. And to be honest, I don't really see it happening. I think they'll probably drop 2 games, maybe 1 game. We'll have to see. But I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. Now, someone no one's talking about, and I found this guy to be a bit disrespected, is Jalen Hurts. He's at plus 3,500. So they're giving him a 2% chance to win it. And look, you're the number 1 seed in the NFC with an unstoppable play that you run, and I don't see any reason why they can't win 6 out of the last 7. If you get the 1 seed, look, at the end of the day, if you're the quarterback on the 1 seed, especially if the 1 seed has 2 games over the 2 seed. If it's a tie, it's kind of whatever, but if you've got a 1 or 2 game lead over the 2 and the 3 seed and you're the 1 seed, you get the bye back-to-back years. He's got the Cowboys, Bears, Chargers, Raiders, Commanders, Bills, Commanders. Look, the Bears is going to be tough. The Chargers are going to be tough. The Bills is going to be tough. But you only got really 3 games. You got really 3 games that are legit potential losses. If you go 2-1, if you beat specifically Josh Allen, because that's going to be a meaningful game. If you can beat Josh Allen on the road, and then if you can beat the Chargers game is Monday Night Football, so that's probably a more important game to win for MVP talk. Look, if you go 14-3, you win your conference by a good margin. If all those NFC West teams beat up on each other and all the NFC North teams beat up on each other, I think we got to consider Hurts. I think Hurts is legitimately a guy that could win it. You know, the public narrative isn't there, but if they win out, you got to consider him. Lamar Jackson at plus 4,500. Look, I'm a Lamar Jackson fan. Currently, his odds are about 1% to win it, and the path is clear. The path is clear. Number one, you need to win out before anything else. You need to beat the Jets, Bengals, Steelers, Pats, Packers, and Steelers. That's a give me. You need to win out, which would be crazy. That would be an 11-game win streak. I mean, to go from 1-5 to 12-5. I don't know if it's ever happened. Well, it's definitely never happened before. But look, some other things need to happen. Number one, by beating the Patriots, you come within striking distance of passing them in the playoff picture. Because if you're going to win MVP, you obviously need to win your division. That's a give me. But it's also not a good look if you're the 3 or the 4 seed. Preferably you're the 1 seed or the 2 seed. Or if you're going to be the 3 seed, you need to be within 1 game. Or maybe 2. If you beat the Patriots, that gives them another loss. Beating the Steelers obviously matters because you win the division, which is needed. And then the Packers, if Jordan Love's got any potential route. But you can't have an NFC team, the Eagles with 2 losses, the Rams with 2 losses. You can't have any of those teams with 2 losses because, look, if you're 12-5 versus a 15-2 quarterback, the 15-2 quarterback's going to win it every time. You need them to drop preferably 2 games. You know, if you're comparing 12-5 to 13-4, with all the momentum you've got, especially with the 13-4 probably also being the Patriots or the Colts or the Broncos, being within 1 game and reeling off 11 wins in a row, I think Lamar could win it in that situation. We got Sam Darnold at plus 5,000, so once again about a 1% chance to win it according to Vegas. And let's get to the Seahawks remaining schedule. And yeah, so the Seahawks, look, they're 14-3 right now. If they win out, and they're going to be up there with the Eagles, you know, getting at the top of the NFC playoff picture, they got to beat the Titans. They got to beat the Vikings. They got to beat the Falcons. The Colts is a big game. The Rams is a big game. The Panthers is a big game. The Niners is a big game. So the next 3 weeks are pretty much gimmies. You know, you should beat the Vikings. You should beat the Falcons. And you are probably going to be 10-3. You're going to be 10-3. You pretty much got to win out. Let's be honest. If Sam Darnold is going to win MVP, you pretty much got to win out. I don't think there's any margin for error. If you finish 12-5, which I'm projecting the Seahawks finish, you're not going to win MVP. You got to go 14-3. You got to win out. And preferably, you got to blow some of these teams out. Like if Sam Darnold's going to win MVP, the stars have to all align, and I don't really see that happening. But look, if you win out, you got 7 games left. Crazier things have happened. And we're going to go to Jared Goff now, who's currently on the outside looking in of the playoff picture. Jared Goff's thing is pretty similar to Sam Darnold's. Look, you got to win out. They've already got 4 losses, so even if you do win out, especially with losses to the Packers, to the Chiefs, to the Eagles, as well as the Vikings, but specifically when you've got to go up against Love, Mahomes, and Jalen Hurts, you gotta pass those guys to win MVP, because those guys, as I've mentioned, not Love, but Mahomes and Hurts, those guys are above you in the standing, but they're still not top 3. They're still not those top 2 guys in Drake May and Matthew Stafford. So you got to somehow win out, and then also, I mean, you play the Rams, so you need to win that one, obviously. But the Packers, Bears, Vikings, I don't even really know if you've got enough left on the schedule. The big games you played, you lost. The Chiefs, the Eagles. So Goff is plus 5,500. I don't really think he's got a legit chance to win it. Now, one guy, and I've already mentioned another player on his team that I think has an outside chance looking in to win it, is Daniel Jones at plus 6,500. Look, have we ever seen a very dominant offense led by a quarterback that's 8-2 that has these teams remaining at the Chiefs, which would be the biggest win of the season, at the Seahawks, at the Jaguars, and then you've got 49ers, you've got Jags again, then you've got Texans. Look, Daniel Jones, if they get the 1 seed, if he beats Mahomes in Arrowhead and then goes into Jacksonville, takes care of business, goes into going into KC and then going up to the Pacific Northwest, those are 2 big wins. Those are 2 big wins. And look, a lot of people are going to talk about Jonathan Taylor as the main cog in this. No, he's not. Look, if the Colts go 15-2 or even 14-3, but especially if they go 15-2, we've legitimately got to talk about Daniel Jones being the MVP. 15-2, beating Mahomes, beating Darnold, beating all the Jags and Texans are decent teams, beating Justin Herbert, beating Bo Nix. I think we've definitely got to consider him if he wins out. Now, if they win 4 of the next 3 and slip into the playoffs, I don't really care. But I think Daniel Jones is a legit guy.